All right, man. We are on. Marwan El Kamash. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Now, listen, you're coming from your car in Egypt right now. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's awesome, man. What part of Egypt do you live in?
I'm from Alexandria, but right now I'm in Cairo.
You're in Cairo. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, when I think of Egypt, I just think of, I mean, obviously, just one of the most historic countries in the world. I mean, you talk about Alexandria and you talk about Cairo. I mean, man, that's the number one country that I haven't gone to yet that I want to visit.
I was actually just about to ask you if you've been here before or not.
No, no, I'm so desperate because I watch documentaries on Egypt all the time. Like I'm like an addict to watching, History Channel and things like that, and about Egypt. And I'm just fascinated with your country. So yeah, I mean, what's it like for you growing up there? Do you feel the history? Do you recognize the history yourself?
I mean, yeah, for sure. But when you're from the country, you don't get as impressed as people from outside, you know. But still, like we have a lot of history. We're really proud of it, and yeah, it's good to have such history, you know.
It's a complex history too. I mean, the amount of people that have come through Egypt and conquered it, or lived there for periods of time, or whatever it is, it's just so deep and so rich. The area is just an incredible area for history. In terms of your country's history, how do they teach it to you in schools?
It's actually kind of sad because we don't really get to learn much about Egyptian history. I mean, we do obviously, but not as much as I think we should. Because sometimes, or especially when I first came to study in the US, and like some people ask me about some questions, and I just I didn't have answer for it, and
Mm.
it hit me, you know, when I'm like, oh, I should have known, or I should know more about my own history.
Yeah, you should. I mean, why don't they? I mean, that seems weird to me. Do they teach history in schools, in elementary schools and things like that? Do they teach any history at all?
Yeah, we do for sure, but not particularly about just Egyptian history, you know. Um,
Oh, wow, that's weird. Hey, that's totally strange to me because everything that I watch is about Egyptian history, so I probably know more than you do. So,
yeah, probably.
what is it about your culture then? How do they build pride in your country? How you've obviously been to 3 Olympics now. You've represented your country. How do they develop pride within the country, the system themselves?
You say pride as like when it comes to sports or just like
Well,
uh,
let's just say your country's pride. I guess I grew up in Australia, so we have not that long a history, right? A couple of 100 years, but we have a very clear understanding of where we came from, who we are, how the country was built. The people, the story, people in the depths of the Australian history, right? Like we have a very very clear understanding. Again, it's only 200 years, so it's not that hard to figure out. But you guys have thousands of years. But what is it about your country then that you draw pride from?
um, that's a complicated question. Just I guess mm, I'm not sure how to answer this. If I would connect it to sports,
Hmm.
it would be a bit different.
Okay.
But yeah, it's I'm not sure what exactly. If you're trying to connect the question with sports or just in general.
Just in general, what are some of the things that when you, let's say this, when you're overseas, what are the things other than sport that you miss about Egypt?
Definitely food.
Hmm. What kind of
The
food do you guys eat
locals.
over there? What is it?
I don't know how to describe it. You have to come here and try it yourself. That's for
Well, I
sure.
know, I know, I know that. I definitely have to do that for sure,
Yeah.
100%. But what are the influences? What are the similarities between maybe some other countries that people would know?
Um, I mean, we're decent at soccer, I guess. So people
Oh
here
yeah.
love to watch soccer, and I'm sure you know Mo Salah, the king of
Hmm.
Egypt. Every Um, but yeah, I like being surrounded by the people here. The food is awesome. But we're missing some stuff. Like I really, that's why I'm back for a bit. I really trying to like work with like the youngsters here for swimming and the future of swimming, especially trying to have a good team from to compete at in LA 2028.
Yeah, you've been to 3 Olympics. Are you planning yourself maybe on going to a fourth or helping other people get to LA?
I'm not gonna take any decisions for myself now, but I'm definitely more interested in helping people to get in LA. Especially that the last Olympics, I was the only qualifier from Egypt, and
Mm.
it's it was a great achievement for me. I took great pride in representing my country for the third time. But again, like we with how many like with the resources we have and with the potential we have, I for sure think we can do way better. Because like in all like our history swimming wise, we've never had an Olympic finals ever.
Oh wow, really? So,
Yeah.
well, that's crazy. How did you get into swimming in Egypt?
So basically, I think my mom didn't know how to swim, so she made all of us swim, me and both my brothers.
Hmm.
At the beginning, I hated swimming. The water was super cold and it was always green, so that made it more like for me, like I hated it even more.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, like maybe I at the age of 13, I saw some progress. 15, I was even better, and then I started thinking about going to the US and studying there and swimming there, obviously. And yeah, that's how it started.
Now, is the culture around swimming in Egypt more volume, distance oriented?
Our culture is basically trying to buy workouts from American coaches and just try to apply it, which never works.
Oh, I can sell them sprint workouts if they like. We can do some sprinting in Egypt. That's not a problem. I can teach people that. Yeah, that doesn't work well. You know, you definitely need coach education. You need experience, and yeah, you definitely. But I'd love to come over there and do some clinics and teach people
Yes,
how
we
to
would
swim
love to have
fast.
you. We
Yeah.
just had Coach James Gibson here like a month
Mm.
ago,
Right.
and it
Yeah.
was
James is awesome. Yeah. He's awesome. Yeah. Um, when did you first realize you had an affinity with a natural ability, maybe, or a talent for distance swimming?
actually I started as a 100 200 freestyler, and I only started distance at age of 27, which I know it's weird because people usually get older and swim less. But for me, it was different. I started doing distance after my second Olympics,
Hang
and
on, hang on. That South Carolina, you swam distance, man.
I had to. It wasn't really my best event. I swam the 200, maybe the 500, but then I was doing because I had to do a third event,
Hmm.
which was 1650, but I was never good at it.
Oh, they just forced you to do it, eh?
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is.
But you're how old were you when you started at South Carolina when you came there?
How long?
How
Or
old were you?
yeah, I was 18. I was 18. I stayed there for 3 years, and then I made my first Olympics with Coach Mark Bernardino.
Mm.
And then I took a gap year. I lived in South Africa for a year. I trained with Graham Hill and his squad at the time with Chad Leclos and Miles Brown and all those guys. And actually, Calvin Justice, you're
Hmm.
coaching him now.
Mm. Yeah, Calvin.
Um, yeah, yeah. So I lived there for a year, and then I swam at my first Olympics. And then when I
Hmm.
came back, I transferred to Indiana for my senior year.
Okay, so you had Mark Bernardino, you went with Graham Hill, you went to Indiana, then you had Mark Schubert. I mean, listen, man, I got to tell you, you're a distance swimmer. All right, all those coaches, all those programs, you're doing some distance at those programs for sure. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like, I'm just saying, when I first went there for the first 3 years, I didn't swim as a distance swimmer, and I
Wow.
refused to do any distance workouts. I just, in my head, I was a mid distance, particularly just like a 200 freestyler. I didn't want to do
Yeah.
anything more.
Well, mid distance makes sense. Yeah, I'd probably say more mid distance. Even the way I think of you is definitely more that. So yeah, I guess when we're thinking distance, we're thinking 1500, 1650. I never really considered to put you right there, but your middle distance for sure is very, very strong. And who's the person? I guess Mark Bernardino is the first coach to really identify your strength there and train you. What did you find really interesting about Mark's style of training?
I think I properly started training swimming in my life with Mark, because before that, it was definitely not swimming. With Mark, like I think I cried in my own goggles for the first time with Mark. His workouts were very tough at the time because I wasn't used to any of this. I remember doing, I don't know, like 2100s on 105 sometimes, or 110 long course. Yeah, so with Mark, for sure, that's when I started knowing more about distance swimming, I guess.
Yeah. And you had a very successful run in college too. I remember you being very, very strong and doing well. Give me some highlights of your college swimming.
I was usually like top three. That's not good. I wasn't very good at short course yards, to be honest. My best time was like 4:10 in the 500, which was okay at the time.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean nowadays it's okay, but back then it was decent. I think I was like 132 to free in yards, which was okay at the time as well. I've always made NCs. I made finals a few times. But yeah, I've always been better long course than short course, that's for sure.
Right. And then after you go to your first Olympics, when did you make the change to Graham Hill?
Literally after my junior year, when I made the Olympics, I decided I need a gap year, and I was gonna either go to actually Australia with Craig Jackson or Graham Hill, and I ended up going to swim with Graham Hill at the time.
Why did you decide at that point in time you needed that gap year?
Because honestly, I always wanted to go to the Olympics and make the A cut or whatever, but it really happened without me planning on getting the time at that particularly, like after my junior year, like it just happened. And then I was like, okay, why not just focus more on swimming and giving it more time? And yeah, it was really a good decision for me because I learned so much during that year, and I was around some of the best coaches and some of the best swimmers. So yeah, it was definitely a good year for me.
Welcome to the Sprint Revolution School. This is the culmination of my life's work. Everything I've learned coaching some of the world's elite athletes, including Cesar Cielo, Fred Bousquet, Bruno Fratis, and leading my Auburn team to the NCAA championship in 2009 alongside the legend Richard Quick. Now all of that knowledge is available to you. Our program is structured into easy-to-follow, interactive modules designed to take you from where you are today to becoming the fastest swimmer you've ever been. Check out the link in the description or simply search The Sprint Revolution on school.com to get started.
Tell me about middle distance swimming. How do you become successful in middle distance? I could talk to you about sprinting all day, right? 50s, 100s, up to 200s for sure, you know. Tell me about this middle distance type training where you, from your experience, you have to do a certain amount of work at a certain level to get really good at it. What's the work ratio? What's the intensities that you have to hit to be really good middle distance?
For me, volume works for me. I know you're not really big fan of volume, but I have to keep my volume up, and I also have to keep up my intensity really, really high. Anything else never works. Even I remember that one year when I moved to Energy Standard, and I trained there for like a year, and I learned so much, and it was amazing. And I was surrounded by some of the best coaches on the world, with James Gibson and Tom Ruston and all like those amazing athletes. But I think there I did more volume than intensity, and it just never really worked with me. For me, I need to have a really good balance with both volume and intensity.
So what do you mean? Like how do you balance both? Because they're both difficult in their own right. Like if you're doing a lot of intensity, it's hard to manage a lot of volume. If you're doing a lot of volume, it's hard to build in a lot of intensity generally. So how do you manage the two?
Okay, when I say volume, I'm always like, I think the best seasons for me, I was around like 75 to 85, maybe nothing
Okay.
more, not like 100 plus. I mean, some weeks maybe I can go up there, but not for long, maybe 1 week or two max. So yeah, 75K to 80K is perfect for me, and intensity is basically just every day. Like even when it's like I didn't even have recovery days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So when you're well, all right, I'm trying to figure this out in my head. The different types of intensities, right? Like there's many different ways to swim fast. So the types of intensity that you do that you feel comfortable with and that work for you, what are those intensities? Give me some examples.
Like workouts or
Yeah, sure. Just give me a set that you feel like you really enjoy doing.
I remember doing 16 400s on 420 long course. That was one of my best sets. And we were like every fourth one was we would go under 4 minutes. And yeah, that was one of the my best sets. I remember also doing 10 1000s in yards on 930. That was a very good one too. But yeah, basically just doing challenge sets in a way every day.
So it sounds like you like to hold pace, like volumes of pace. It doesn't seem like those swims are fast. Those intervals are fast, right? Like you have to hold a certain pace to hit those, but you're not talking about, 2050s at 200 pace or anything like that. You're talking about more of a longer volume of intensity, right?
Yeah, I mean, I maybe this kind of set you just said, I would do that when I was a bit younger, when I was just slowly like just a 200 freestyler. But I never really swam that way like after my junior year of college.
Right. Now you certainly have become a very competitive middle distance swimmer, right? And you've hit a lot of volume. So when you look back on your career, what could you have done differently up to this point? Let's say, what could you have done differently to be even more competitive? Let's say, how would you get to become the first Egyptian in a final at the Olympics? How do you get to be the first Egyptian on the podium? I mean, it doesn't seem to me like you could have really trained any harder, right? Or done more volume, let's say, or even done those sets at shorter rest or anything like that. So what do you think you could have changed in order to get maybe an even better performance?
We really lack like guidance. I never had someone where I can ask him like, what should I do and how should I train and all that. Like all that I had to discover myself since I was 18. And I've always been around. Like I've always had a different coach for 2 years or more. And it was good in a way because I got to learn so much. But I never really had like someone, a coach since I was 15 or 16, where I can ask him like, hey, like what's next? What should I do? How should I do this? And like him, like someone telling me, no, you should start doing this at that time. Because like I said, I started swimming distance when I was 27, and it's almost unheard of. Maybe I should have been a distance swimmer ever since I was like 15 or 16. So
Why
I
did you
think
make the decision to go from middle to distance?
well, people started going out in 49 and the 2 free, and it just became almost a sprint event. Because I went from 152 to 147 in 1 year, and 147 was good maybe in 2015, but then after 2015 everything got way too fast. Like people going out in 50 points, 49, and my best time in the 100 free is not even that fast.
Didn't you just think to do some more race pace training? Didn't you just think I should elevate my intensity in practice and do faster swims rather than longer swims?
Maybe I think the environment around me just kind of I blend into it because I've always been training with distance coaches and they've always seen me as a distance swimmer, and that's just the way I went to, you know.
Now, your brother told me, Marzan, I coach with him now at TST.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's doing well. He tells me that you're pretty quiet, you know, like he's like, I don't know, my brother's pretty quiet. I don't know how the podcast's going to go because he doesn't say much. Is that the kind of situation where you've got into these coaching groups and you've just kind of kept your mouth quiet and don't really have an opinion? You know, you kind of do what you're told to do. Like you're more obedient and you'll just do it and you don't ask a lot of questions. Is that maybe who you are?
Not when it comes to swimming. No, not when.
Okay.
Maybe like outside the pool, but not when it comes to swimming. I always ask why we're doing this. Maybe after the practice, or I always have something to say, especially during practice or when it comes to swimming in general.
Yeah. Do you feel like you made the right choice going up in distance rather than staying in the middle and trying to figure out more speed?
That's actually a very good question. I want to say everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad I took that way of training, and I got to be trained by some of the best coaches in distance. But maybe if I took the other route, it would have been better. But I'm happy with how it turned out.
Give me an example of each one of the 4 coaches that you mentioned that you had, the very well-renowned distance coaches, great coaches in every right, basically. But give me something from each one of those coaches that you feel like they do best.
They do best.
So Mark Bernardino, what does he do best? What's so good about Mark?
Mark is just old school, you know. He's just I like him more as a person being around the practice than his actual workouts. Mm-hmm. His workouts are obviously really good and obviously it works, but I think my favorite was probably doing like Gibran's workouts at Indiana. That was probably one of my favorites because this guy is a genius. Like you should try to have him sometime on your podcast if you can.
Who's that? Who did you say?
Gibran's is Ayub's like main coach, if you can say so.
Okay. Tell me about him. What does he do so well?
So I think he learned a lot from the French coaches, mm-hmm. Especially Philippe Luca, if you know him. And he learned a lot, but at the same time, he's not like someone who's copy pasting workouts. He's very smart. Like he knows what you need, and just the way he writes his workouts are really fun for a distance swimmer. Maybe not for a sprinter, that's for sure.
When you say that, give me a better understanding, because I do think that, to me, right, like distance swimming is a grind of volume and a grind of work that you just have to get through. So how does somebody make it fun and interesting? How do they make it different?
Just, I don't know, like it's more doing challenge sets, just pushing yourself to where it's not possible to go any faster. Like doing, I don't know, 200 long course on 210 holding under 2 minutes, or 1500 on holding under 2 minutes as well. I know it doesn't sound fun, but when you're at the moment, it really is fun for us as distance swimmers, I guess.
So it sounds like you like a lot of short rest type sets. Is that correct?
I love doing short rest.
Yeah, short rest. Okay. What else? What other kind of sets do you like? Or let's say this: when you get longer rest, do you hate that?
I don't mind it, but I prefer doing shorter rest. Yeah. So like doing 10 300s on 310 as well. It's one of my favorite sets.
Hang on, say that again. 10 300s on 310, you said?
Yes.
Long course?
Yes, long course.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Now, Do you do any work where you would say, you know, descending work? It sounds like a lot of what you're talking about is like holding pace, holding pace, holding pace. Do you do descending work? Do you do fast, easy work? You know, things like that.
So the set, as written, it says descending, but
Mhm.
when you're in like a super competitive group, like you just end up going from the first one. You know, there's no descent. I mean, there's descent, slight descent, but you're just going at it like the whole time, especially when
Right.
you have really good distance swimmers around you.
Yeah, tell me about that. Who are some of the best trainers that you've ever trained with?
So if I go a bit back, it's probably Miles Brown from South Africa. This guy was like insane in practice. I think I remember him. Like I remember him pushing what, like 15 long course, like in practice in a speedo
Wow.
one time. And but later on, it's definitely like Ahmed Hafnawi. Like this guy he's insane in practice as well.
Hafnawi? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. He's an animal, huh?
Yes.
I guess that's how you become Olympic champion. You got to be an animal. What is it about distance swimming? How are we getting faster than you think? Like, how are world records being broken now? You know, you just saw Bobby Fink break the world record in the 1500. How has training evolved, you think, and how has the mentality shifted so that we're still getting faster? You know?
I think there's just people are not thinking limits anymore. Like people are doing some crazy work. Like just like really like no one's thinking limits. Back then, maybe if you ask someone to do some of the sets, maybe I told you about, they would say you're crazy. But now it's not even that competitive anymore. Like people are really pushing it when it comes to intensity and volume. Maybe more intensity than volume, but
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, I was like, you can't really do much more volume. Like 100 grand is 100 grand a week. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a ton of volume. So I'd imagine that people are starting to manipulate the intensities more, right?
yes, correct. And also, I think volume sometimes just go like it can affect you in a like in worse way than it should if you're not like tracking everything and if you're like over training or over doing the volume and all that.
Yeah.
Are you in need of a pace clock? Looking to finally upgrade those ancient analog clocks? The Swim Nerd Pace Clock is the most innovative digital pace clock. Go to swimpractice.com to check it out.
How do you know when you're on that edge for you? Like when you're riding that line of being super well trained and fit to just tipping over the edge to being overtrained. How do you know where that line is?
So I've always been good at like journaling and writing down everything I do and how I do it with the times and everything. And for me, that was very, very important as a distance swimmer, and it helped me a lot.
Right. Is it important for you, you think, or is it individual based to have people around you doing the same type of work? Is it hard for you to, let's say, be at a group like Indiana and see the sprint group over there doing their work that's good for them, but also knowing that the work that you're doing is important for you? Has that ever been difficult for you?
Maybe at the beginning, but then I mean, I think when you have a goal and you want to do something, like when you want to achieve something, it doesn't really matter what other groups are doing. But for me, it's super, super important to have a good group. Like I've always done the best with swimming with like, good distance swimmers.
Yeah, people around you. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, talk to me about Paris. I mean, Paris was clearly disappointing. Now, and speaking with your brother, he was telling me that possibly in the days leading up to the 800 free, which was your first event, I mean, they were very excited. Everyone was, you'd done really good work, great training, obviously in the lead up. Something happened in the days before. Is there something specific that went on a couple of days before?
Well, my shoulder started bothering me, and it has been bothering me along the year, even though I was able to kind of work around it in a way. And basically, just on the start of the 800 free, when I'm just doing the start, I partially dislocated my shoulder. So at the time, I didn't know how to think, what to do, and there was no way I was gonna stop or get out. And I was just, there's like more than one like 100K like people watching you swim. So with the adrenaline and everything, I had to go. And which with each stroke I'm taking, I can hear my my shoulder click, click, click. And basically after the 150, I wanted to finish. I wasn't even counting. I wanted to finish the race, and it was like probably the hardest 8 minutes I've ever been through.
Wow, yeah, that sounds awful. So you knew from the moment it happened, like where was it? Was it on impact, like at the dive? Is that where it happened?
Yeah, when I was just diving, and it happened like midair.
Oh, midair. So you just felt it? What, did it go out and back in or something like that?
Yeah, I went out and back in. It actually happened before earlier that year in February at the training camp. So it wasn't the first time, but everything was so good. Like I didn't expect it to happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine you were feeling pretty good in the lead up to that 800 then, hey?
Yeah, I mean, I was swimming almost best in season times, and everything was going really well. But it just happened.
Yeah, yeah. And then they had to, I mean, you swam it out, which was great. I mean, you were about 20 seconds off your best, but that's understandable with the pain that you're in and the things that were happening. But then you had to make a decision on surgery. How quickly did all that happen?
I think I had my surgery 10 days after my race, or 12 days after my race. It was actually a big surgery. It took them like 7 hours or something, and I had to put inside like 7 or 8 hooks. So yeah, I needed the surgery regardless.
Wow. Oh, so even if you didn't have that mid-air accident in Paris, you still would have had to have the surgery, huh?
Yeah, correct.
Wow. Now is this an overuse injury? Is it a technical injury? Is this something that happened when you were doing something in the gym or anything like that? How did it come about?
Nothing particularly. I mean, it's probably just overusing. Also, like doing this much volume at 30 or 31 now. It's just, I guess it had to happen at some point.
Yeah. So now you're in Egypt. I saw something on Instagram where you have a big announcement. Is that announcement out yet, or are we still keeping that under wraps?
No, I'm just doing workshops around now, and I'm working on a lot more things to help Egyptian swimming. And like I said, I'm super confident we're going to have a really good team in LA 28. And my goal is to have people qualifying and making the final training in Egypt. I mean, yeah, it's
Really?
good to go to the US later on and study and all that, but I really want to produce swimmers that train here.
Is it possible? What are the facilities like in Egypt?
Oh, we have a swimming pool like every 2 kilometers. We have so many swimming pools.
Wow.
I think it's 100% possible. It's just we need to make people think differently about swimming. They need to know, like, read more about swimming and know, like, people here don't even know what's an A cut, what's a B cut, and like how do you qualify for the Olympics. So we have so much to learn and so much to do from now to the Olympics. And I really believe we're going to have a solid team in 4 years.
Now, are you looking at, like you said, bringing people from the outside? Are you looking at more people from the outside, more experts from the outside coming in, or are you looking at, listen, we've got to deal with what we have. We've got to educate the coaches here in Egypt, and we've got to keep everything in country. Like, are you looking more like that or the other way?
No, we're definitely open to learn from like some of the great coaches all over the world. And like I said, we would love to have you whenever you can. And but yeah, having swim clinics or workshops with some of the best coaches around the world is definitely the way to do it. And like you see, like Tunisia, how they do it, they usually go to France when at age of 13, and then at 18 they go to the States. And obviously it works with them like it worked with Ousmalouli and Ahmed Hafnawi. So we just need to build our own system, and we're also open, obviously, or not open. We must like learn from, like people in the US or in Europe or whatever.
Yeah, well, like I said, man, I'm open to coming and bring my sprint revolution out there. I'd love to get some sprinters from Egypt. That would be brilliant, you know. And again, see the country as well. But yeah, look, I think there's a lot of possibilities around the world. And the good thing about swimming now is the world is getting smaller, right? The information is easy to share these days. There's a lot of different ways to do that, even just podcasts like this. So yeah, I think that there's many different ways to learn, but yeah, I would love to come out there anytime we could do it. I'm actually doing a clinic in Finland in a couple of weeks. I'm going out there, so I'm excited about that. We're going to have all the top coaches in Finland come. We're going to do a big full 3-day kind of coaches clinic. So yeah, I'm excited about that. So I'd love to bring it down to Egypt sometime. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to come to Cairo right after Finland, then we can make it work.
Oh, that'd be nice. I wish. I gotta work here. I can't make your brother do all the work while I'm away. He won't be happy.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that's fair.
okay, man. Well, listen, it's been great to get to know you and your story a little bit. So you still think you're open to possibly swimming in the future based on how this recovery goes?
Yeah, I'm just taking my time for now. But I don't want to make any decisions now. And like I said, I'm more focused on having or building a good system and solid team for LA 2020.
Well, listen, man, you've been an inspiration to many people in your country, and now you're gonna, they've been able to watch you, and now they're gonna be able to learn from you, and your impact is going to be lasting for many years. So, congratulations so far on the career you had, and the influence and the willingness to kind of give back to the community too. I think that's huge for them. They can learn so much from you too. So, make sure that you're writing things down and producing, the way that I was trying to dig into your brain, right, and get all that information out. You need to do that for yourself. You need to get in there and say, okay, what did I learn from each of these coaches that I could pass on to somebody else? I think that's a very important process for people like you who have so much experience now, and have been influenced by so many great coaches. That was one of the best pieces of advice David Marsh ever gave me when I first finished swimming and kind of was walking towards coaching. He said, Brett, write all of this down so that you don't forget it now while it's fresh, and I think while you're going through this injury right now, you're coming off a lot of hard training and a lot of great seasons. I would recommend to you, just get it all out, because years from now, you might look back and say, oh man, I wish I had written that stuff down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like I said, that's something I was really good at when I was swimming, like every day. I wouldn't just write the workouts, but I would write how I felt and how this workout helped me and how this coach helped me as well. So, because I was looking more in the future, like how this would help me when I'm in this kind of situation. I want to give back and build a really good team for the next Olympic cycle.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, listen, reach out to your brother. I know he misses you a lot. All right.
Okay. Well,
all right, man. Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.